Hey everyone, thanks for joining us again. This week we're baking, boom, fried shoestring onion cheeseburgers. A little bit of mashed avocado, a little bit of mayonnaise, followed with some maple bacon, and hit with a nice, very lean burger patty. So let's get started. Start off with our bacon. Recipe calls for 8 thick cut slices. Just make sure your bacon is thick. I only use 3 here because I'm making 1 burger. So I just adjusted the recipe. Follow that up with a tablespoon of maple syrup, and we're gonna hit it with all of it, and we're gonna rub it into the bacon itself. After we've rubbed it onto one side, we're gonna go ahead and flip our bacon over and continue on the other side, just to ensure that every side is gonna be packed with fully loaded maple syrup flavor. So a little bit of movie magic, and presto, we're done and on to the next. So after that, we're gonna go ahead and place it in the oven at 350 degrees for roughly 20 minutes. And keep an eye out for your bacon. It'll cook pretty fast. Follow that up with 2 pounds of ground lean beef. The recipe calls for a ground of sirloin steak, grounded, and a ground of chuck. But I used lean beef and it came out really well. We're gonna hit our beef with 1 tablespoon of barbecue sauce. You don't have to use a Carolina style, which is more of a mustard base. I love it. You can use whatever you want. So if you have a homemade one, use it. It's gonna come out great. Next, grab 2 cloves of garlic. Peel them. You can peel them really well by smashing them down like how I did here, and then taking off the skin. It makes it very, very easy. And if you have a garlic press, go ahead and put it inside the garlic press and press it into the beef patty for both cloves. After you've pressed it, if you have a spoon or a butter knife, or how I used my tablespoon measure, just go ahead and scrap it off from the bottom and let it get into that beef. We want all of the flavor in this recipe because it's going to make for a delicious burger. Next, you are going to grab a teaspoon of smoked paprika. I used a smoked hot paprika from Spain. You can pick this up at any grocer. Paprika is fine. After that, let's start mixing all of our ingredients with our patty together. So just keep mixing. Put them in between your hands, grab it and then make a fist, and it gets it all in there. And then you're gonna start folding it over. After that, we're gonna go ahead and just keep on pressing it in, making sure all the flavors are there, and then go ahead and throw it onto our cutting board right here. If you don't have a cutting board, it's fine. I would say use a piece of wax paper, put it on your table, and then you could throw your patties on there. After you've got it on there, we're gonna separate them into 2 beef patties. Recipe calls for 8 cheeseburgers, or you can make 4 double cheeseburgers. I only made 2 right here, and they're both pretty much a pound each because I wanted a thick burger and I wanted something delicious, and this was perfect. So go ahead and do that to the same. After that, we're gonna start seasoning it with a little bit of salt and pepper. Make sure you season liberally. We don't want anything missing out, and make sure you season both sides, because even though it may look like a lot of salt and pepper for each side combined, it's really not. We're really adjusting for the volume of the patty here to ensure flavor gets into all the edges. So you can do that on both sides with the salt, and then do the same thing with the black pepper. You don't necessarily need to use freshly cracked black pepper if it's unavailable to you. Regular ground pepper works just fine, and I know it's a lot more convenient when you're on the go. So just a little bit of word of advice right there. So go ahead and flip them over and hit it on the other side. And then right now, what we're gonna do, we're gonna place them on a baking sheet, and we're gonna leave them in the fridge to chill for 30 minutes. But before that, place them on the baking sheet, and then with your thumb, make an indentation into the middle of the patty, and that's gonna prevent it from shrinking. Yeah, nice little hack. This book is really cool and really awesome to learn things like that. So now that that's finished, let's start prepping for our fried onion rings. So go ahead and gather 1.5 cups all-purpose flour, and then we're gonna hit that with a teaspoon of ancho chili powder. And if you have trouble measuring, you can always use your like a scale and measure in grams. I know it's a lot more accurate, but for this recipe, they're really not necessary. After that, we're gonna again hit it with a teaspoon of ancho chili powder. Follow that up with roughly the equivalent of a teaspoon of lime zest. And what you're gonna do is, if you have a microplane or a grinder, go ahead and hit it. Just, you don't even have to cut the lime, just start grinding away at all sides. Once you see the white pit, stop right there, because the white pit is bitter and you don't want anything bitter in something that's not supposed to have it. It's that simple. Half a teaspoon of sea salt is going to go in, followed by half a teaspoon of freshly cracked black pepper. Now again, if you don't have freshly cracked black pepper available to you, just use regular ground pepper from your local store. I know it makes life a lot easier. I went ahead and, like an idiot, I made it harder on myself, and I tried to get it all into the little teaspoon measure, and it just made my life that much worse. But it's all good. After that, let's start prepping for our wet ingredients for the fried onion rings, which is literally just a cup of buttermilk. And you're probably wondering, why are we using buttermilk in this recipe? It has that tang that we're looking for, and with the sweetness of the onions when they're fried, it's going to complement and create a balance for everything else that's underneath it. The patties, the wok, the cheese, especially, can't forget the cheese. Follow that up by starting to mix our dry ingredients all together. Just let them get to know each other really well. Like, hey, what's up? You want to dance? No, I don't dance. Well, I do. Let's go. No, I don't want to. All right, I guess I could do one. And they all start having fun. I know, funny, right? After that, go ahead and get 2 small size onions. If you're using big onions, if you want to make a lot, you can use as big of an onion as you want, just as long as it's not a red onion. Red onions are really not the kind of flavor profile we're looking for. They're a lot sharper than our sweet onions right here, which is really what we want. So you're gonna peel that, and after this, we're gonna start chopping away using a knife or a mandolin, as I have here. But if you're using a mandolin, make sure you're careful. Don't be like me and slice your finger off. That happened to me one time when I was making a Nashville hot chicken sandwiches, and I was cutting jalapeno. So imagine being cut and bleeding, and then it's a jalapeno on top of it stinging, and it wasn't good. So go ahead and chop away at our onions until we're done. You can just, if you're making this for one person, you could just use 1 onion. If you love onion rings, I say do all the onions you want. After that, we're gonna make sure that they're cut into croissant moon shapes. So you literally just take a knife and start roughly chopping away at it, as I did here, and that's going to allow us to achieve our shoestring appearance right there. So we're going to get ready to make them in the batter now. So throw them into the buttermilk mixture. Let them sit there for not too long. You could just dip it in, leave it in for 3 seconds, and then we're going to throw it into our dry mixture, and then we're going to heat it up on a beautiful cast iron skillet. So throw those in there. You can work in batches. I think it's best to work in batches because I tried throwing everything in and it just came out a little too difficult, but it's all good. So throw them into the dry mixture, and after that, what you can do is fold over the dry ingredients into the onions itself, and that's going to allow for a very beautiful coating all around, and you're not going to have any onions that are going to have some missing parts and have like a patchy onion ring. So this is a little technique that really works. What you can also do is, when you throw the onions in there, you can coat them all together, leave them in there for about 5 seconds, and then boom, take them out again, just to ensure that it's going to stick. So we're going to work in batches again, do it to the second one, and boom, throw them in there, just to get everything nice and situated. And then from here, we're going to move forward, and we're going to heat up our cast iron skillet, and we're going to hit it with some, if you have canola oil or grapeseed oil, those will work really well. We want a neutral oil for this one. I went ahead and I used an olive oil because I didn't have any of that available to me. But if you're going to use an olive oil, I would say use an olive oil that doesn't really have that peppery balance to it. You want something that's as neutral as possible because of the flavor profile and the dry ingredients with the onion ring. So almost done here, setting everything up, and this is probably the longest part of this recipe, and everything else is just smooth from here. So again, get your cast iron skillet piping hot, And then we're gonna hit it with again roughly I would say a third of a cup of oil. We want a shallow fry, and like how you see here, it wasn't hot enough when I throw it in there, but it, you know, still kind of saved the day. But you want it to be as hot as possible, so you want your oil to kind of, when you jiggle it, to look like it should look like it moves like water. That's how you know when it's ready. What you can also do is, before you put your oil, you can hit it with some water, and if it evaporates, boom, it's ready. So now our onion rings are ready. We have them beautifully browned. I'm gonna go ahead and make sure that everything else is brown. And that might take a little bit of time. You know, like I said, the prep for the onion rings is really what takes the longest for this recipe, and it's really well worth it. So make sure that we're watching our onion rings. We don't want them to burn because it is flour coating it, and it will be all good. After that, you're gonna just get that baking sheet again. You're gonna throw a little napkin on there just to ensure that when the oil drips, it's caught, and it's gonna prevent you from, you know, washing some really oily dishes later on when you're out of your food coma with this burger. Let them sit there and we'll be good to go. All right, now we're gonna make our mashed avocado mixture, which is phenomenal. So get one avocado, and we're gonna use the same lime that we took the zest off of, because what's the point of using another lime when this one hasn't been used? It was only the skin. You get what I'm saying? Cool. Cut your avocado in half, get a spoon, scoop it out. It's the easiest way I know. I've seen people trying to peel an avocado, and I'm just like, dude, just to each their own. More power to you, but let's make it simple. You're gonna get the pit out, smack a knife on it, boom, smack it on the cutting board, let it go, and you're gonna get the other avocado out. After that, we are gonna hit it with a pinch of sea salt and roughly a tablespoon of fresh lime juice. So to make it easy, half of a lime is roughly 1 tablespoon. You might need to use a little bit of the other half, but for the most part, it's pretty straightforward that half of a lime or a lemon is 1 tablespoon. After that, you're gonna get a fork. You're gonna start mashing down. Fork is the easiest way to do it. If you try to use a spoon, it would just slip out, and a fork, since it has you know, space in between them, it just makes it that much easier. It's like a little rake. Or was it the rake that came first, or the fork? Dun dun dun. It's a good question. Philosophy. Mash it all up until it's all good and gathered. I like my wok, aka mashed avocado, to be a little bit more limey, and it was heaven. Boom. Deliciousness already. So now we're gonna start getting our burger patties ready. Now you see that smoke? That's what we want. We're gonna hit it with roughly a tablespoon of butter, and that's just to increase the flavor profile. If preferably unsalted butter, because our beef patties already are salted. You're gonna lay them on there, nice and easy, because you know they're sensitive. You all right? They're still growing. They're almost there to where they need to be, which is fully cooked. So you're gonna see right here that the patties, they are gonna shrink a little bit, but if we didn't put that thumbprint in the middle, they would have shrank a lot more. And these are perfect sizes right here. This 1 pound patty each. If you're making this solo, you're gonna enjoy every single pound of each patty. That's all I gotta say. Now we want to char on each side. We want to ensure that it's cooked but not dry, and that's just gonna allow us to have a juicy burger. Next, I hit it with 2 slices of provolone, and until they got melted, that's when I know they're together. The recipe calls for just sharp cheddar cheese, but I would say, fuck it, use your favorite cheese. I think it's gonna go great no matter what. So provolone I like that sharpness, I like that richness that it has, and I like the complement of how it's sliced through the fattiness, quote unquote, the leanness of the burger itself. And my gosh, was it amazing. So leave them in there for a little bit just for the cheese to get acquainted and everything get melted. And now we're gonna start assembling. So as you see right there, movie magic, my bacon was already done, had it set to the side, and then we're just gonna lastly prep our burger buns. So go ahead and get your seeded burger buns or your homemade brioche buns, or just your brioche buns that you bought at the store. Heat them up on a cast iron skillet till they're nice and toasty, and that's it, set to the side. And then we're gonna start now the prepping for our burger. Voila. We're gonna want it to look like this. Boom. Mashed avocado on the bottom, burger patty, onion, and then in between the burger patty and the onion, the bacon, because that's really the star of the show. Just kidding. It's all the star. Get your bottom bun, hit it with some mashed avocado that you're already enjoying, like how I did, and be generous. All right, we're cooking at home. Why be stingy unless you're on a diet? Get your patties, set them on top of the mashed avocado and bottom bun. And then we're going to get our maple bacon, which, off behind the scenes, I was a little picking at. That's why you might see some little missing pieces there. But, it's all good. We're cooking at home once again. After this, we're going to get our onion rings. We're going to just throw it atop. We're going to set it nicely atop of our bacon. Sorry about that. Lastly, mayonnaise. The recipe called for spicy herb mayonnaise or regular mayonnaise, and I like regular mayonnaise, so that's what I used. Make sure you spread it on top, unless you like mayonnaise only in one section of your burger, then by all means, more power to you. And you're gonna drop it, plop it, and then you're gonna fix it, the top burger bun on the burger, and presto, we have made a beautiful, delicious fried shoestring onion cheeseburger. But the most important part, the crosshatch. What does it look inside, Rodrigo? How does it taste? Well, don't worry, young lads, I got your back. So, as you're gonna see, our burger came out beautifully cooked, not medium rare, not well done, not burnt, not dry, just perfect. Now, you may be wondering, did you finish that burger all at once? Actually, I didn't. It was a lot of meat. I was really hungry, and I guess I just overdid it, but I ate it in batches. So I hope you enjoy.